Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and today we are going to look at the trucker protest again here in Canada. So today is February 11th, so it's an update from today. And before we get into this, I just want to say people are hot about this topic. There is so much anger, meanness, horrible comments flying around online. There's so much division. Family and friends are deleting each other from social media. They're arguing with each other. I mean, it is getting bad. So before we start in, I want to just say, let's all be kind. We need to start being kind to each other. We may have different views on this topic. It's most certainly that we will have different views because we're different beings, we're different people. We grew up in different homes, different environments. We have had different experiences and different values in life that has led us to the position that we hold today. We are all human beings. We're all fellow human beings. And we need to start being a little more courteous, kind, loving, sending love out into the world, sending light into the world, listening when people talk, stopping with the name calling. Because this is not the way we're going to unify a country. This is not the way we're going to unify a nation. This is division. This is how wars begin. This is how relationships break apart. This is how hate spreads. You know, I can see the country being fractured right now. There's a lot going on in Canada, and Canadians are nice. Canadians are good people, all of them, no matter what side of this issue that you're on. And it's time we started to remember that. We stand for goodness, for love. We love our community, we love our children. We're good, kind human beings. So let's not forget that. Let's not stigmatize the other side. Let's not fall into name calling. Let's not be divided. Let's try to show understanding. Let's try to show some love. Let's try to send out some compassion. Let's try to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Everyone has had their own experiences, and people have their own beliefs and value system, and that is okay. So let's get into it. What are the truckers standing for, and what do they want? This is simple. They want the choice and freedom. So what does that mean? They want the choice to make their own decisions. They want the choice to make their own medical decisions. I'm going to repeat that again. These are not terrorists. These are not people who are, scum of the earth or trying to get something that they shouldn't be getting, right? People are condemning the protests. Let me tell you what they want. They want the freedom of choice over their own bodies, over their own autonomy. So why is this so important to me here on this channel? Well, as a natural health channel, I help chronically ill people become their own healers and heal themselves. The first thing I teach people is that you must take responsibility for yourself. You cannot outsource your healing to someone else. You cannot outsource your protocols to someone else. You must take control of your own healing and health. Because if you're chronically ill, if you've been down the road, if you've been to the doctors, if you've been in the medical system, if you've been to the naturopaths, the functional medicine doctors, if you've been to the natural healers, people go down all the roads when they're chronically ill, and I get it. I speak from experience. At some point, you get to the point where you realize nobody is coming to save you. Nobody can save you. That responsibility lies within. That responsibility is yours. You need to stand up, tune into your own body, tune into that inner voice, and listen to what your soul is telling you. You need to take responsibility for your symptoms, for your condition, for your lifestyle, for your health, for your diet, for everything. And you need to start charting your own course. So I teach people how to become their own self-healers because often they've been in the medical institutions. They've been harmed by the medical institutions. They've been given up on. They've been told there's nothing more we can do for you. That's when they turn to channels like this. And the first thing that is important to know is to take back their own personal power. So why am I on the side of the truckers? Why am I on the side of this protest? Informed medical consent must be upheld. You must have the ability to look at the benefits and risks of something that you choose or choose not to put in your own body and make your own decision. This is paramount. You must have control over your own body. You must be able to take control and take your own personal power into your hands when it comes to what food you put in your mouth, what lifestyle you are living, what medications or not you put in your own body. It is your birthright to decide and make decisions for yourself, to live with the consequences of those decisions. I know many who would say, but it doesn't just affect you, it affects all of us. And yes, that is true to an extent. However, where there is risk, there must be personal choice, okay? Viruses go around, viruses spread. But the remedy for that, and I can't say those words because I don't want to get kicked off. I mean, it's crazy, the censorship. If I said the word that started with a V, this video would get taken down. Let's just start by saying nobody wants for you to get sick. That is not what these protesters are protesting for. They're not protesting for the right to go out and infect everyone. Viruses spread. They just do. The remedy that is being given out right now, it has been proven that it is neither safe nor effective. On the effectiveness, we just need our own eyes. We need to look at the data. The data is skewed now because they stopped testing everybody more recently because they don't want to show the numbers of people who are actually getting the C word, who have been V word. Okay, so even the data is skewed, but you can look around and you can see that the majority of the people getting this, transmitting this, actually have been V'd. If it neither stops transmission nor stops the spread, we are not dealing with science. We're dealing with someone who wants to tell you what to do, regardless of the science. It hasn't been as effective as they would lead you to believe, right? In the beginning, they said it would 100% work. Then they said you wouldn't be able to spread it. Then they said you wouldn't be able to catch it. I mean, the story has evolved because science evolves. It's shown, it's proven now, right? So people who said that in the beginning were ridiculed, were slapped with misinformation, and now we know that to be a fact. So let's talk about safety. So we know that the efficacy of this is not working. The safety of this, I'm going to put up a link in this video to the VAERS database. This is the database, the only database that we have, which is seriously underreported. This database is underreported at best. And I won't read you those numbers. I'm going to link it here because if I read them to you, even though it's accurate information from the VAERS database itself, I worry that this video will get taken down. That's how crazy things have gotten. So go look for yourself. You will be able to see the number of people who have been injured, the number of people who have died, the number of people who are paralyzed, the number of people who've had heart attacks, the number of people who have been seriously injured. Yes, people have also died and been injured by C, but it is not okay to force something into someone's body that comes with risks. Each person has their own conscious and their own experiences that tell them whether those risks are too much for them or not. And if they determine that that's too much for them, or personally, morally, ethically, there's a reason why they cannot take it, this does not mean that they're bad people. They are weighing the risks and benefits, which we must do when we take control of our own health, which we must do for any protocol. People are like, well, I don't want to get sick, therefore you must take it, which makes no sense. I want to draw the attention here that it makes no sense. If the V's worked, if the B's worked, the third and fourth doses worked, if the masks worked, if isolating worked, you wouldn't be blaming anyone else because you would be protected. You would be fine. But if you're still worried about that, that's just case in point that those things aren't effective. Those things aren't working. And if you're scared of getting C, I understand. If you're fully V'd, fully B'd, isolating, wearing a mask, and you're still afraid, you're blaming the wrong people. Everyone needs to stand up to fear right now and take control of their own health. Be realistic. What works? What doesn't work? You need to protect yourself. You need to take responsibility for yourself. And you can't impose your will on other people. This is where it gets gray. There's a lot of people who think that this trucking protest is a lot of spoiled, selfish people throwing tantrums because they're not getting their way. And this is most certainly not the case. Personal freedom and liberty is worth standing up for. The future generations are worth standing up for. Now, this cause may not be worth standing up for you. Because if you fully agree with the measures that the government has taken, if you fully agree with the isolation, if you fully agree with the masking, if you fully agree with the V's, if you fully agree with the B's, then you feel safer following that advice. And you want everybody to follow that advice. However, when you give government the control, when we are passing laws, when we're implementing mandates, enforcing our will on other people, we are losing the freedom that this country was founded on. We are losing our freedom and our rights and our personal freedoms. And if you agree with all the measures the government has taken, then that's excellent for you, because you can still go ahead and get more V's and more B's. You can still isolate, you can still wear your mask, you can still do everything that you need to do to protect yourself. But what happens if we give this power to a government who may or may not be corrupt, who may or may not be working in conjunction with businesses, big technology companies, big pharmaceutical companies, whose goal it is to follow the money, to make profit. So when we hand over our power, our personal freedoms to these corporations, to these governments who are funded, and in funding these, we also give away our future rights, our future freedoms, and that of our children's. And even if you agree with everything that the government has done so far, you may not agree with the next thing they do. You may not agree with the next thing they tell you to put in your body, or 5 years from now, if they mandate you must take pain medication, opioids, or antidepressants or antipsychotics, or you must take certain chemotherapy that you don't want to take. You must be able to make these decisions, because there's a line. And when we give that power away, like I said, to governments who are being funded and funded by big companies, big pharmaceutical companies, big technology companies, then we give away our future rights. So even if you love everything that's being done right now and you totally agree with it, you may not agree with the next thing. And where will that leave you? Because when the power is gone, when your personal power, your personal autonomy, your personal God-given right to make your own choices, your own decisions, and live with the consequences of those, when that's taken from you, and things that do cross your personal boundaries, cross your personal values, or go against your experiences or your personal integrity, where is that going to leave you? This is why this movement is so big. This is what the truckers are standing up for. They are saying, that's fine if you want to do it, go do it. But we don't. We do not want to put this in our body. We don't want to continue to do this. We want to be able to make our own choices, and we have that right. And so when they fight for these rights, they're not being selfish. They're not trying to cause the economy harm. They're not even being violent. This is a very peaceful protest, but they're saying enough. The reason they have to do this is because the petitions, the letters, the emails, all the voices, all the traditional avenues that they have to be heard, to make their voices heard, have gone unnoticed, unrecognized, unheard, unresponded to, and the government's left them no choice. They either comply, they either do something that goes against their own moral code, moral compass, or something that they're not comfortable with. They take on risks that they don't want to do. And they either shut up and put up, or because no other means of communication has gotten through to this government so far, they've left them no choice but to peacefully protest, to make a presence known, to make their voices known, to hold up flags. And this is what we all need. We need ways to communicate to the governments that this is not okay. This is showing us, if you don't like the protests, if you think that they need to end, that they've gone too far, that they're impeding on the rights of citizens of Ottawa, that they're destroying other industries at bridges and border crossings, then you will write a letter to the government. You will write a letter to the Prime Minister. Have them impose ways that voices can be heard that do not need to resort to this. Have them end mandates that aren't ethical and that aren't working. Have them restore personal freedom and civil rights and liberties to their citizens. This is how we end this protest. There's an easy way out of it. And the politicians do not want to take it. They don't want to do the easy solution, the solution that actually follows science, and a solution that stands up for what's right, that shows that they have an ethical compass that allows each citizen to choose for themselves. If they don't want to do this, they've left the people no choice. If you have other alternatives on how somebody who is not ready to take on that risk, does not want to do this, and hasn't been heard in any other ways, please post it in the comments here, because I'm sure these truckers would be open to other ways of communicating. But even this presence has not invoked a response, a direct response from the leader of their own country. He refuses to come to the table. He refuses to sit down and discuss anything. He continually divides the country by calling everybody racist and misogynist and white supremacists, which is simply not true. Nobody would know that it's not true, because when you watch mainstream media, when you watch mainstream news that is funded by Pfizer and that is hand in hand with the government, so it's got a liberal point of view, you would never know that this is a peaceful protest. You would never understand the vibe that's going on in Canada, the vibe that's coming across the country, the unity, the love, the peace, people standing for what they believe in. So you wouldn't see that unless you see all these videos that people are posting on social media, the actual eyes on the ground, what is happening, showing us, or going down there yourself. You would never see what's actually happening. You would see the one or two stories that they can pluck out and magnify to purposely divide, to call out in order to shame, and be able to shut these things down. So even now, the Prime Minister wants to shut this down. They've threatened using force. They're stealing firewood from the truckers who are trying to keep warm. They're stealing their gas so that they can't keep warm at night. They're threatening to call in Child Protective Services to take away children. I mean, what's happening is beyond me, because the government could do the right thing here. They could end the mandates. They could open things up quickly. Every trucker would go home. Every protester would go home. The reason they are saying we are not leaving until freedom is restored is because they see a bigger picture. And they know that if they leave this fight, there will be more boosters coming. There will be more requirements. There will be more things coming down the pipe. And it will get worse, much worse for everyone, even for the people who are totally siding with the Liberal government right now. And newsflash, let's talk about Liberals. Let's talk about Conservatives. Let's talk about the United States, because this is a worldwide movement. Let's talk about Democrats and Republicans here. As somebody who is non-political, meaning I've never cared about politics my entire life, and when I do go and vote, I usually vote Liberal. So I don't think that this is a Liberal conservative issue. I don't think that this is a Democratic and Republican issue. However, it has become a political issue. And when something becomes a political issue rather than a medical issue, we're in trouble. Because we all know that political issues get dirty. Political issues don't always have the best interest of the people. They always have the best interests of the politicians, of the parties, of the people who they're beholden to, of the financial support, and usually of big industry. So, what can I tell you as a person who normally votes Liberal and has really no interest in politics? I can tell you that I don't make decisions based on whether it's a red or blue, whether it's Democrat or Republican, whether it's liberal or conservative. I don't make my decisions based on that, and most people don't. Most people make their decision based on their own personal values, their own personal beliefs, and their own personal experiences, what they feel is right and what they don't feel is right. Most people decide for themselves based on the life that they've lived and how this is going to impact them personally. Usually when I go to vote, I look at all the different issues on each side. I wouldn't consider myself one way or the other, because when you look at all the issues, they're all separate. They're all separate. How can you say, I believe all the issues here and none of the issues here? It doesn't make sense. We're all individual humans. We're different people. We're going to think different on global warming, on climate change. We're going to think different on all the issues, on education. And like, you can't pigeonhole yourself into a party. And this particular issue, freedom of choice, I don't believe is blue or red. I don't believe is Democrat or Republican. I don't believe is liberal or conservative. And if anything, I do believe it's a liberal value, because liberals are always going on about all the minority groups, about supporting them, about, and that's what I support when I go vote liberal. The people's freedoms, and that everyone's equal and everyone should have their own civil liberties. So like standing up for Black Lives Matter, standing up for LGBTQ communities, standing up for all race, all gender, whatever it is, like everyone's equal, everyone's the same. We want to spread love and unity throughout this country. We want everyone to have their freedoms. We don't want anyone to feel less than. And what I feel like is missing from the liberals right now is that it blows my mind that they can't see that this infringes on people's personal liberties and freedoms, that this is not ethical, that this is not supporting minorities or supporting individual liberty and freedom. I think that this issue shouldn't be political. And that's why this movement is getting so much strength, because people from all parties are coming together. People from the left, people from the right. I mean, people are coming together and they're saying, leave politicians out of it. Leave politics out of it. This is bigger than politics. The trucker convoy itself won't even take an endorsement from the People's Party of Canada, who does not support the mandates. They won't take an endorsement from any political party because it's not about politics, because we all know one party can be in for a few years and then another party can be in for a few years. And it's not about who's gaining control, who's gaining popularity, and who's making the decisions. It's about keeping intact, in the United States, the Constitution, in Canada, the Canadian Charter of Rights. It's about keeping individual liberties and freedoms intact for all. Because even if you don't agree on this issue, what's going to happen when you don't agree on the next? I mean, we need to protect these. Censorship is another big thing, right? We're seeing now that the media is bought and paid for. We're seeing that they are political. We're seeing that they've chosen sides, political sides, for political and monetary and financial gain. So we're seeing that censorship is happening. We're seeing big technology cooperate with governments and censoring people, shutting down videos, shutting down anyone who doesn't agree with you. We saw some videos of officers coming to people's house who have been posting comments on Facebook saying they're in support of the truckers. We've seen them coming to people's houses. They're monitoring your personal information online. They're censoring you. They're shutting you down. They're making it almost impossible for you to support a movement. We're seeing governments overreach monetarily. We're seeing them shut down and coerce companies like GoFundMe to shut down over the $10 million that was raised in support of this movement, in support of standing up for these rights. We've seen the government try to coerce this company, and this company have to bend and back down and basically freeze and steal funds. We're seeing the government get legal documents to try to shut down Give, Send, Go. Who does not want to be bullied? Who is going to continue to support this cause? And we're seeing governments overreach, freeze bank accounts of people in the convoy, freeze, not allow them to send. I mean, this whether you agree with what the government's doing or not, should be concerning, should be alarming. Because if they have the right to go in whenever they feel like it and freeze bank accounts, freeze money personally with corporations, because we're all going to have digital online banking. And if we're going to give them power, if we're going to allow them to step in and manipulate money that doesn't belong to them, manipulate money that isn't for them, shut down people's rights to transfer and send and receive their own funds and their own money, then we have an even bigger problem. We can see more and more control from government, and we should be scared as to where this leads, because this is, yes, a first step. It's an individual thing that they're doing right now. They say it's for the good of the country. We're in a state of emergency. But what happens when this trickles down? What happens if 10 years from now, you find yourself not agreeing with something that the government says, or you find yourself posting in support of something that they don't agree online and they shut your bank account off? I mean, where does this lead us? So we have to protect these things. We have to find a way to protect and stand up for the people, because we cannot give control to all the governments. We cannot let them overreach in this way, or we will be living in a communist country such as China. The whole thing also with Joe Rogan is out of control. Really, no matter what you think of Joe Rogan, I don't care what you think of him. And that compilation of him saying all the racial slurs, let me just say, I personally have no tolerance for that. I personally don't agree with that at all. But let's put that aside for a second and look at Joe Rogan. And the reason I can say let's put that aside from now, because people are also putting aside what Neil Young said about gay people back in the 80s. So let's put that aside for a minute, because it always comes down to that. And that's not what this is about. Misinformation is what I want to talk about. If you're going to shut down somebody who looks at all sides of the argument and allows people to present different points of view because you don't agree with it, what happens? We're on a slippery slope. We're on a slope to what's being done in China. This is what they do in China. They only allow them to see whatever the government wants them to see, right? They censor all the sites. They don't have access to information. They only have access to what the government wants them to. Is that what we want to go towards? Is that what we want to go towards in the United States and Canada? Is that where free countries want to go towards? Are we following examples from communist countries? Are we following the Chinese example on locking things down, taking authoritarian measures, censoring the internet, overstepping authority and forcing mandates and telling people what they can and can't do, shutting down peaceful protests, sending in the army to stop this? Are we taking lessons from China? Is that what we want to become? Because everyone needs to look at that, because that's the road we're headed on if we don't stand up. And I know a lot of people personally, because I know people have gone crazy out there. There are sides being taken, right? People fighting on Facebook's family and friends being divided. It's terrible. We are all humans. We are all for humanity. We are all for love, inclusivity, unity, healing. The only way to heal this country is to hold up your truth with love, with tolerance, with light, with understanding, with compassion, and hold it up. That's what these truckers are doing. If you have a different truth, you may hold it up, but the attacking has to stop. We have to become unified as human beings. So let's give a little update on the truckers right now. So what's happening in Ottawa is that they are continuing to protest. The government is continuing to send in reinforcements. They are now working with the United States government and finding ways to overpower people and try to break up this protest and get all the truckers off the streets and send everybody home. The borders are also being closed down. Canadians are closing down the borders, and the United States truckers are also starting to join in with them with their own convoys and shutting down borders. So people are getting upset and saying, well, this is ruining lives. This is ruining economies. This is hurting all of us. And I would counter that and say the measures of the government are hurting all of us. They can easily end this. They can do the right thing. They can restore freedoms, personal freedoms. If you believe that what's happening is not right, if you believe that it's time to stand up for your own personal rights and freedoms, then you should come together and support this amazing, growing movement, because it is filled with love. It is filled with unity. And I'm proud of these truckers. I'm proud of what they're doing. And as somebody who teaches people how to heal themselves, I can tell you that no one is coming to save you. That's the first rule I teach people. No one is coming to save you. You're going to have to save yourself. And in this situation, if you want to have control over your own body, what you put in it and what you don't put in it, and you want your children and your grandchildren to be able to make their own decisions for their own bodies, then this is a cause worth standing up for. The truckers and the people who are supporting the truckers are not horrible people. They're human beings just like you. Okay, their moms, their dads, their sisters, their brothers. They care about their community and their family, and they care about their own health and their own bodies. And nobody wants to give or spread C. Nobody wants that. I certainly don't want that. I've been living at home. I've been isolating. I haven't gone anywhere. I would never go anywhere if I was sick. And I've done less than most feed people. So I'm following rules. I'm protecting my family. I'm protecting my children. But I also want autonomy over my own body, and that's okay. That's my right. And I think that should stay all of our rights. Okay? A lot of people are like, well, I don't feel safe if you're not VED. And I would say, have you looked at the VAERS database? Again, I'm going to link it here. Over 1 million people have been personally injured. Okay? They have suffered serious consequences. And as somebody who has been pharmaceutically injured, I'm the first to say that this is criminal. This is criminal to put something in your body that you haven't been given informed consent over, that you haven't been given the proper risk-benefit analysis, that you haven't been given the proper information to make your own decision, and then you get injured, you die, you're paralyzed, you get Bell's palsy, you have something serious go wrong, and you have to live the rest of your life like that. I see you. I hear you. That is not okay. That's what we stand up for. I stand up for you and the millions who have been harmed by pharmaceutical medications. And believe me, there are many. Believe me, it is criminal and it is horrifying the way these companies have been given a liability shield to not take responsibility financially or otherwise for any harm that they do. This is not okay. It is not okay to be coerced into putting something in your body that has known risks. These risks are real. They are not anecdotal. You can look at them on the VAERS website yourself, and there are hundreds of thousands of people, videos online that are being suppressed and censored because they don't want you to see this. That is not okay. It is not okay that there is risk and you're not being told the risk, and you're not being the option as to whether you want to put it in your body or not. And I know a lot of people will say, well, nothing happened to me, and count yourself lucky. That's amazing. But for the people that something bad happened to them, I stand up for you. And the people who told you to put that in your body and injured you need to be held financially and criminally responsible. So anyone out there that thinks they have all the information, you don't. We don't even have all the initial trial data from Pfizer yet. And it's only starting to come starting March 1st, and it will be delivered over the next 8 months. So we should have it all within 8 months. They requested 55 years to present this data, 75 years to give us this data. They want to keep this data hidden. So we don't know the information yet. Science is still being written. We are finding out things. And even the people who are VED and even the people who stand behind the government on this have to admit that many things have changed since the beginning. First they're effective, then they're not, then you can catch it, then you can't, then, it goes on. So science is changing. As we get more information, things are coming to light. Information's coming out. Data is coming to light. These are not safe, they're not effective, and we need to restore freedom. We need to end the mandates. We need to get rid of the QR codes and the passcodes that divide society, that give people their own social credit score and leave everybody out in the dust. This is what China does. This is not what we want to become. So I stand proudly, I stand solidly behind the truckers of Canada. I support you 100%. I wave my flag to you, and I pray that we win this for everyone. for me, for you, for anyone who believes in their own personal right to this decision, for all the children. May you grow up in a world where you have access to information, where you're not monitored and censored by big technology companies. May you be able to choose what goes into your own body. May you have the right to say no. May you have the right to create your own personal boundaries. May you have the right to freedom, the freedom that we grew up having. So I stand solidly behind these truckers. I do not stand anywhere near any kind of racism or violent acts or anything like that. So any people within any movement who do that need to be held accountable for their own actions, and they need to face those actions in the court of law. They need to be removed from the situation, but you cannot condemn the hundreds of thousands of Canadians who want their personal rights and freedoms, who are good law-abiding citizens, who pay taxes, who are good community members, who are amazing people, and just because they decided something different than you, we're sending messages that we wouldn't teach our children out on the playground. We would say, if you have disagreements, work it out. Be kind to everyone. Be loving. Everyone's got their own battles that they're fighting behind closed doors that you know nothing about. Be kind, be loving, forgive easily. Don't bully people, don't call people names. Keep your hands to yourself. Everyone has a right to make their own choices. You focus on you. We tell these lessons to our children. And now it's time to look inward and stand up for those same lessons that we teach the children. Be kind, show love, stand up for what you believe in. Say no if you don't like something. Hold your personal boundaries. Be kind to everyone. These are the lessons we teach our children, and these are the lessons I hope that we can start to show each other. We are all on Team Humanity. We must come together. We must support unity. We must support everyone's choice, everyone's free choice. We must stop tearing groups of people down. We must start spreading love, spreading light, spreading truth, spreading kindness, being true Canadians, being true patriots, being the kinds of humans that we know we are deep in our soul. Okay, so stop fighting with family and friends. Stop tearing people down for their own opinions. Stop unfriending people. Just stop. We all have our right to our opinion, and that is a good thing. Let's hold those rights together. Let's make sure everyone has the right to their opinions. Let's make sure everyone has the rights to their own choices. Okay? It's important for all of us. So Canada, I stand with you. United States, United Kingdom, Australia, all free countries out there who are fighting, who are doing their best to spread love, to hold the line, to fight for freedom. I am with you, and we will continue to watch this story, and we will continue to pray for unity and for freedom for all.